Good morning, everyone. I am Jonathan Little. 2025 is fast approaching, so today we are going to be discussing how to set poker goals in 2025. Goodness gracious, 2024 flew by, right? Sure felt like it flew by for me. Maybe it flew by for you, maybe it didn't. We're having trouble with YouTube this morning, so we're going to give people a little bit of time to trickle in, more so than normal. While we're here, what should we talk about? Well, we just released Peak GTO. Make sure you check out that if you have not already. Excellent poker trainer and library of GTO solutions that will help you crush the game. If anybody's here, type something in the chat box so I know that we are functioning at least halfway well. I'm heading to the Bahamas soon. When do I go? I go on the 5th. Goodness gracious, time flies by when you're having fun. I thought the 5th was Friday. Turns out it's Thursday. That's good to know. I'm excited to do that. They have a bunch of tournaments. They have a $2,700 mini main event. They have a $25K big main event. I think it has 50 million guaranteed. There's a bunch of 10Ks and online tournaments, and hopefully the weather's nice. And it's going to be a lot of fun. If you see me there, say hi. I know a lot of people qualified to go. So yeah, that'll be great. I'm not going to Vegas for the win tournaments. I opted to go to the Bahamas instead purely because I can put in way more volume in the Bahamas. We're going to be talking about volume today because volume is actually very important when figuring out if your poker goals are realistic. And as a professional poker player who's trying to win money from poker, you got to put in volume. And you can invest way more money in the Bahamas than in Vegas. That said, the games will be tougher, so maybe that will impact your potential win rate, right? That said, if you expect to have an edge, you obviously want to put in more volume than not putting in volume. You may say, but you could play that free roll and you can get in for $0 and maybe win $1 million for infinite return on investment. Yeah, maybe, but math exists. Let's get to it. It looks like we are functioning. Let's discuss how to set poker goals in 2025. First things first, what do you want from poker and life? What do you actually want? You got to be honest with yourself. Most players say they want to win at poker, or they want to win X amount from poker, or they want to win some tournament. But a lot of players have no desire or the intention to actually do the work and stick to the work and be disciplined enough to do the work required to succeed. What do I mean by that? Say you want to win $1 million from poker, don't we all? Well, how are you going to do it? A lot of people say, I'm going to win a big tournament. Well, how are you going to win a big tournament if you're currently playing $1 buy-in tournaments online? The answer is, you're not. It's close to impossible. Now, sure, you could get lucky. Sure, you could take a shot. Sure, you could run ungodly hot. It's probably not going to happen. So then, my next question would be to you, is failure an option? Now, I, Jonathan Little, really do not like goals that will result in me failing. I do not like the idea of setting very difficult goals or call them stretch goals, because if I'm going to set a goal, at least in Jonathan Little's brain, it is to try to achieve that goal. It's not to try to get close to that goal. People say shoot for Mars, and if you make it to the moon, that's all good. You know? Say you want to win $300,000 from poker. If you only win $150K, but you only needed $25K, that's still really good. A lot of people think like that. I don't really think like that. I think I'm going to try to set a plan in place that is realistic for me to actually accomplish. A lot of poker players come to me saying things like, I want to win $100,000 at cash games. I'm going to show you exactly how to set up a plan for that in just a second. And it turns out a lot of people don't want to actually stick to the plan. Why do they not want to stick to the plan? All sorts of reasons. They have other things that take over the priority. Maybe they're a little lazier than they thought they were. Maybe they were used to playing poker 20 hours a week, but they realize now it requires 60, and they don't like playing poker 60 hours a week. Well, okay, then you're not going to achieve your goal, right? I strongly recommend, no matter how you are going about setting your goals, that you set up a clearly defined plan that, at least in my opinion, you can stick to. Don't set up a plan that you cannot stick to. Someone came to me recently, no, not recently, about a year ago, and said, I want to win call it $200,000 from cash games. They were winning about $100 an hour. Actually reasonable to make $200,000 from cash games if you're making $100 an hour, if you put your butt in the chair and grind a lot. And they thought they could. They did a pretty good job for the first month. But then after that, started to get a hold of a little bit of money. And they thought, you know what, now I'm going to go and go to my friend's wedding. Okay, fine, go to your friend's wedding. Or I'm going to go play this tournament series that takes a week. And then they just don't play cash games that week. Then they want to go to some music festival. And next thing you know, they're not playing poker anymore. You're not going to achieve your goal if you don't stick to the plan. So you want to ask, what can you actually control in poker? Because you cannot control your results all that much. At least in terms of exact dollar amounts you're going to win. Because whenever you play, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, right? But you can primarily control 3 very important things. You can control volume, how much you actually put your butt in the chair and play. You can control the game selection, meaning you get to pick the opponents you play with to some extent. You may say, if I play tournaments, I don't get to pick my opponents. You get to pick the tournaments you play, right? I just discussed right before we started this show, I'm going to the Bahamas. I am picking to play the Bahamas over Las Vegas or Prague or wherever else, right? Why am I doing that? Because I think that's the one that's going to be the most profitable for me. You choose the games you play. And then finally, you get to pick your study time or your study efforts. A lot of people forget what you have to do to win at poker. To win at poker, you only have to do 3 things, really. You have to find a game you can beat. Game selection. You have to play it a lot. Volume. And you have to keep a proper bankroll. We're going to discuss that in a little bit. But another good way, in addition to finding a game you can beat based on game selection, is to study a lot. If you get way better than almost all players, you can sit in pretty much all games and expect to be decently profitable. For example, a lot of people who are going to the Bahamas are not adequately skilled to win in the Bahamas, especially in the side events that may or may not be big. For example, if they have a random 10K on the side, it may only have 200 players. And if it's 200 players, it's going to be a pretty tough tournament, right? And a lot of people are not adequately skilled for that. I think I am, but a lot of people are not. Whereas if you as Marshall says, win a golden passport to go to the Bahamas or to Vegas, you're probably going to be very adequately skilled if you know how to play at all. What should you do to prepare for this crazy free roll? I don't think it's going to be that crazy, honestly. I think you're just going to be playing against very bad players. I don't think it's... I mean, look, I don't know the structure. I don't think it's going to be like a super turbo or anything. Study the tournament masterclass. Study the advanced tournament course. Study the brand new course we just released on PokerCoaching.com. Tournament domination. Study a lot. Get good at poker. What do I think about playing 6 free hands and then leaving? I think you're not going to put in any volume. You have to put in volume. You have to put in volume. Also, you don't get to pick where you sit usually, although maybe you do. Sure, you can play 6 free hands maybe. Imagine you get to play 6 free hands once every 2 hours. Congrats. Am I right? Imagine you make $1 per hand on average. You're going to make even $2 per hand because you don't have to pay the blinds. Imagine you make $2 per hand and you get to play 12 hands per 2 hours. $24 every 2 hours. Congrats. All right, let's talk about volume. You choose when you play. You do. You choose when you get up out of your bed, out of your house, and go either play online or play at the computer. We're going to discuss live poker here. Essentially, your hourly rate times the number of hours you play equals your profit, plus or minus the variance you're going to experience. As you put in more volume, your variance will typically decrease. Now, let's say you win $50 per hour in your soft 2-5 game, and you're going to play 40 hours per week, and you're going to play 40 weeks per year. Simple math equation. You're making $80,000 a year. If you only play 6 hands every hour, you're not going to make $80,000 a year. I hate to break it to you. You're going to make almost nothing. Free money. A lot of people don't understand the idea of opportunity cost. I didn't even plan on talking about this here. But imagine you could be sitting winning $50 per hour at 2-5 with some variance, or you could literally make $12 for free doing nothing. Would you rather make $12 an hour or $50 an hour? I, personally, would rather make $50 an hour. That's just me, though. Maybe I'm a rare bird over here who is happy to take on a little bit of variance and do a little bit of work, do a little bit of study in exchange for making substantially more money. Opportunity cost is very, very real. If you know what opportunity cost is, Google it. Anytime you do anything, you're not doing everything else. So you need to use your time wisely. So choose when you play. Obviously, here, you can tinker the number of hours you play and the number of weeks you play per year. If this is now 50, let's do some math. And this is now 50. Let's get out a calculator. By playing 50 hours a week instead of 40, and by playing 50 weeks a year instead of 40, you make $50 per hour times 50 hours per week times 50 weeks a year. Now you're making $125,000. You just gave yourself a chunky raise. You 1.5x the amount of money you make by playing more. To be fair, you're playing 1.5 times as much. Back whenever I used to play at Bellagio every day at 5, 10, and 10, 20, I was more like 70 hours per week, 52 weeks a year, but let's just say 50. You can do the math, except I was making $100 an hour. 100 times 70 times 50 equals $350K. If you get a little bit better at poker, you're willing to take on some variance, and you're willing to really put your butt in the chair and grind, you 4x the amount of money you make. Simple as that. It's just a math problem for cash games. Cash games are easy. Wouldn't you decrease your results by playing more? We're going to discuss this. Some people get burnt out. I, Jonathan Little, am very fortunate that I am a good grinder. I can put my butt in a chair, and if you tell me you sit your butt in a chair all day, every day for a year, and you're going to make $350,000, and you, Jonathan Little, have $100K to your name, you're going to 3.5x your net worth in a year? Is it 4.5x your net worth? Depends on how you look at it. Sign me up. And I did sign up for about a year and a half when I was a young poker player. Now, look, that's not for everyone. That grinding it all day, every day is not for everyone. It is not for everyone. Okay? I totally get it. Let's rewind this before I publish this thing and screw it up. Anyway, essentially, I don't think your win rate decreased this much at all. 50 times 70 times 50 is 100. I know that, efficient. You must have missed what I just said. Let's see. Can I, Jonathan Little, be 2-3, 10% capped rake in Australia? I haven't played that structure. I presume yes. It depends on your opponent's tendencies. How do you determine your win rate in a cash game? Well, to be fair, it's easy to just look at your hourly rate over time, right? Put your butt in the chair and play. Go there, play 1,000 hours, and see how you're doing. If you're even, you, right now, today, are not winning. If you're smashing it, you're probably winning it. What would be the equivalent online playing 4 tables, 1-2, making 80 to 100K a year? It's a math problem. It's a math problem, everyone. The cash games are easy to figure out how much money you're going to make. Let's say you make, I don't know, 10 cents per hand. Okay? How many hands do you need to play to make 100K a year? Well, easy, right? It's 1 million. You want to make 100K a year, divided by 0.1 equals 1 million hands. You need to play 1 million hands, making 10 cents per hand. If you're making 2 cents per hand, well, you're going to need to play 5 million hands. It's a math problem. Now, the question then becomes, how many hands can you play per hour / per day? Let's say you play, 40 hands per table, and you play 4 tables at a time. That's 160 hands per hour, right? So divide this by 160. This is how many hours you need to play in the year to make 100K at that win rate, at that number of tables. Now, clearly, there's not that many hours in the year. So divided by 40 hours per week, divided by 50 hours per year. Wait, is that right? Is that right? My brain's broken. Somebody tell me where I screwed up. If you're making 10 cents per hand, you have to play 1 million hands. Oh, you can play 1 million. Can you play 1 million hands 4 tabling? That's my question. 1 million hands 4 tabling. You play 160 per hour. Is there this many hours in a year? My brain is so screwed, everybody. Let's get another calculator. How many hours can you play in a year? Let's see. 40 hours per week times 50 weeks per year. It's 2,000. Is that only 3 hours per week? That can't be right. That doesn't sound right. Where am I screwing up? Somebody tell me where I'm screwing up. This is 160 hands per hour. Somebody click the like button. Watch me struggle in the morning. I had my coffee too early today. I woke up at 4 a.m. Is that only 3 hours per week? That can't be right. Literally can't be right. 2,080 hours. 2,080 hours. 2,000 hours you have to put in to play that many hands. Maybe it's easy. Maybe you do put in more volume than I'm thinking. You find yourself having a major stat, every major stat decent, but you're still losing money. The rake might be too high. It's 3 years. Oh, 3 years. That makes sense. Ha ha ha. I'm like, it can't be 3. Okay, 3 years. That makes more sense. Gosh, my brain's so screwed. I'm like 3 hours per week. That ain't right. If you like watching me struggle, click like and subscribe button. Yeah. 3 years to play that many hands. So what can you do? What can you do about that? Well, play 12 tables instead of 4. Play more hours. Win more money. Right? You don't get how you can have decent stats and still lose money. Well, you're probably messing up some on the turn in the river if I had to guess. Now, maybe that's not true. Maybe you're playing micro stakes where the rake is just very, very high. Maybe you're playing the micro stakes where the rake is very, very high. And if the rake is very, very high, you're not going to win. That's probably it. If that's not it, and all of your generic stats, like these basic ones, by the way, these are very basic stats. BPIP pre-flop rates. These matter, but they're like, I'm going to call them table stakes. Like everybody plays this right. You need to be playing well on the flop, on the turn, on the river, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then exploitatively, you should be adjusting as well. All right. Anyway, tinker around with these numbers. Figure out how many hours you have to play and how much money you have to make per hour to get whatever you want. Next, you get to choose where you play. Speaking of this, if you're playing tiny stakes with a gigantic rake, don't play that game. You don't have to play just because a game exists. Also, as your skill level improves in relation to your opponents, your win rate is going to go up. As you're worse than your opponents, your win rate is going to go down. For that reason, usually it's ideal to play with the bad players, and the worst players typically play on the nights and weekends. Not always, but quite often. So, especially in live cash games and online too, you want to make sure that you are playing in soft games against bad players. I played with Nick Airball. Only once. We got it all in on like the second hand of a $5,000 tournament. I had 10s, he had ace king, and he won. But then I re-entered, and then I won, and I won a gigantic trophy that's above my head over there. So that's good. How much money does he have left? I have no clue about his financial status. Why would you think that I, Jonathan Little, have any clue about anybody else's financial status? Game selection is by far the most important spot where we screw up. A lot of you mess this up. I mean, I mess this up. Everybody messes this up. I can guarantee you there's probably going to be at least one tournament in the Bahamas that's kind of tough, and I'm probably going to play it anyway, and I'm probably going to make like $20 an hour in it or $50 an hour in it. Or there's probably going to be some tournament that I skip that I could have a huge win rate in that I just don't play. There's probably some like nightly 1K turbo or something where everybody's drunk and I could just show up at midnight if I wanted to and crush them, but I don't care that much. Only 20 likes. Nobody likes setting realistic results. I understand. Next, study time. You choose how much you study. We have a big sale right now at PokerCoaching.com/Cyber Monday. Check it out. As your skill level goes up in relation to your opponents, your win rate will go up. And as you get better, more and more games will become more profitable for you, especially at the highest stakes where the games get generally tough. For example, a lot of you cannot go play a random $10,000 buy-in tournaments and expect to win. If you get very good, though, you can. And that opens up many more opportunities for you to potentially make money. Somebody asked a minute ago, should you play cash games when you're getting started instead of tournaments? And if you want consistent results and your bankroll to trickle up like that, instead of it going all over the place and often down, yeah, you should play cash games. But the problem with cash games is that as you move up past 5-10, it's hard to put in volume. There's just not that many games. So if you want to make more than $100 per hour at cash games, you either have to get in good in some private games or don't play that many hours or move to tournaments where you can still make more than that. 80-20 rule, 80% play, 20% study. Oh my God, you got it backwards if you're not already crushing it. If you're not already crushing the games, you need to be studying a ton. For example, or as an analogy, a simile, what is this, analogy or simile? Somebody tell me in the chat. If you want to become a brain surgeon, you don't operate on brains 80% of the time and study 20% of the time. You study a lot until you get good. Now, certainly you can play and practice some along the way. We have a GTO trainer at peakgto.com. Check it out. You can play against the trainer and get experience without risking your money. You can go through the poker coaching quizzes or the drills of the day. Again, excellent ways to essentially play without risking your money while studying at the same time and getting immediate feedback. Yeah, I think analogy is right on this one. So anyway, you got to study a lot, especially if you're not already crushing it. If you're not crushing the games, it implies you're not that good, at least in relation to your opponents and the structure. Okay, I want to win $50,000 from poker in 2025. A lot of you want to do this. This is a reasonable number a lot of people can make. Well, very importantly, where are you starting? Are you already good at poker? Do you have a bankroll? How much volume is going to be required? Will you need to move up in stakes? Will you need to study a lot? If you're bad at poker, you need to study a lot. Can you be just unlucky for 6 months? Well, how many hands are you playing in 6 months? If you're grinding online all day, every day, 60 hours a week, 16 tabling, no. If you play one tournament a month, yes. So you want to ask yourself, where am I starting? Am I already, what is my win rate? What is my hourly rate live? What is my big blind per 100 online? Whatever. You need to figure out, where are you starting? Next, how much volume is going to be required? How much time you actually have to put your butt in the chair and play? Will you need to move up to achieve your goal? Maybe you will, maybe you won't. And also, will you need to study a lot? Now, I'm going to mention this again later. I think goals like make $50,000 from poker are stupid. Ow, can you say that? Asinine. Oh, can you say that? No. It's not a good goal, in my opinion. Because imagine you decide, I'm going to make 50K a year, and then you make 50K by September. You achieved your goal. You should stop playing, right? Because you could conceivably lose. But that would be really dumb, because then you just don't play for 3 months. Alternatively, say you get towards the end of the year and you've made 42K and you have 2 weeks to go. Should you start gambling hard to try to get to your 50K? No, that would be stupid. Monetary goals in poker are stupid. That said, again, going back to this, what can you control? Volume. Figure out how many hours you need to play. Figure out the kind of games you need to play. Figure out how much you need to be studying, right? Those are things you directly can control. All right, let's say we're starting from a point of you are a small stakes player, you're doing all right, you're beating the games, 1-3 no limit for $20 per hour in live poker. Okay, this is where some of you are. If you're not winning right here, well, you got to get to that point first. I would recommend study a lot. Study a lot. You're trying to get better without studying. Well, take it slow. How do you use all sorts of various programs? Do you think that's what we're talking about today? Oh my God. Okay. Let's say we are playing 1-3 no limit. We're making $20 per hour. You need to increase your bankroll because $10,000 is not enough to play 2-5. You need to move up to 2-5 in order to make 50K a year from poker. Now, maybe that's not necessarily true. Maybe you can stick at 1-3, but to make your life way easier and to not have to play all the time, you're going to need to move up. So, play 1-3 till you get about $20,000 or so. Isn't 1-3 live rake too high to win? No. No. In live 1-3 no limit in a casino, sit there, play kind of tight, make good hands, and load your money in. It is not rocket science. It is easy. I have tons of students winning $30 per hour live at 1-3, and they all move up to 2-5 very quickly, where they can make more like $50 per hour. Don't be limping in every hand. Don't be min raising and seeing every flop with all sorts of nonsense. Play good, strong linear ranges. put your money in, your opponents will pay you off, and you will win. Anyway, you want to play 1-3 till you have 20,000 or so. So you need to make $10,000. How many hours will it take you to make $10,000 at 1-3 if you're making 20 bucks per hour? Well, do math. It'll take 500 hours. There are some really bad players at 1-3. Indeed, almost all of them. Because if they were not bad, they would have moved up. 1-3 is about as small as you can play live in most casinos. I realize you can play 1-2 or maybe some places at 50-cent dollar. But the smallest buy-in games in the room are usually filled with the weakest players in the room. Because if they were better, they would move up. You played 1-3 a few weeks ago and got wrecked. Well, variants exist, right? We're going to talk about that later. Another silly goal. So, whenever you're looking at this calculation right here, people make a few mistakes. First, the main mistake is this right here. They think they make $20 per hour at 1-3. Whereas in reality, they don't know how much they make. Either they haven't put in enough volume, or they're just guessing, or they're just wrong for whatever reason. A lot of people think they win more than they actually win. My first poker coach, Bill Seymour, who just passed away, rest in peace, said to me a long time ago, always presume your win rate is about half of what you are witnessing your win rate to actually be. This will result in you not moving up as quickly, or not pushing the boundaries as much as you could, but it will make you pretty much immune to ever going broke. And I personally don't like being broke. What kind of a bankroll do you need to play poker? Check out PokerCoaching.com/bankroll. Is online harder than live? Yes, online is way harder than live. But that's fine, you can still win. Check out PokerCoaching.com/freeroll. We have a bunch of sign-up bonuses and a $2,000 weekly free roll on Coin Poker. It's completely free to play. $0 required from you. And every single week, we're giving away $2,000 to my community. So if you like money, it's for you. All right. So the question becomes, you got to play 500 hours to get to 20K. 20K is a reasonable starting point for 2-5. And if you're winning 20 bucks an hour at 1-3, you're probably winning a comparable amount at 2-5. So how much can you play? Do math. The answer is almost always, for bankroll type stuff and goal type stuff, do math. Need to play 500 hours. 40 hours per week is 12 and a half weeks. 3 months. 3 months of grinding. In 3 months of grinding, you will double your $10,000 to $20,000, assuming what we have said is true. If you play 20 hours a week, it's going to take you 25 weeks. If you're playing 10 hours a week, it's going to take you a year. It's going to take you a year if you don't put in volume. If you play one nice day per week, it's going to take you a year. But if you play 40 hours a week, it's going to take you 12.5 weeks. If you're a real grinder and you actually want to win as much money as possible, and you put your butt in the chair for 80 hours a week, it's going to take you a month and a half. How do you start building for the first 10K? Realize you're going to start playing for much tinier stakes, and you're going to grind hard, and you're going to build up the money. Whenever I was a young poker player, I would literally play all day, every day. I would study and play 14 hours a day. Now, look, I was a young kid. I was, quote-unquote, going to college, not really. And I had no family and no responsibilities. And all I wanted to do was win money. Because I came from a spot with having no money. I had $50 when I first started. And I played a ton in tiny stakes games. And over the course of 3 years, doing exactly what I'm showing you right here, you can take a tiny amount of money and turn it into a lot of money. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes grinding. Again, a lot of people don't want to do it. Go all the way back to the first slide. What do you actually want? Do you actually want to win? Do you actually want to set up a close to foolproof method for you to win? A lot of people do not. So, anyway, here we are. I'm going to presume you actually want to win. And you're going to play 40 hours a week. Quote unquote, only 40 hours a week. It's a miserable life. How do you make money off poker without playing late night with stupid drunks? Well, this is your opinion. I think it's a lot of fun to play late nights with people who don't know how to play poker at all. Can you beat the day games on the weekdays? I used to sit and play 10-20 every day at noon with a lot of old dudes, and I smashed them. Now, not for 15 big blinds per hour, but for like 7 big blinds per hour at 10-20 is 140 bucks an hour with almost no variance. You can only play 20 hours a week. Well, hey, look, here we are. I'm showing you the math. It's going to take you longer. If you can't play as much, it's going to take you longer. And that's okay. Just be realistic. Again, go back to the beginning. Be honest with yourself. You need a clearly defined plan. You got to be honest and realistic. And I'm literally showing you for like person who can devote a lot of time to person who can't devote much time at all. You just have to be realistic and honest with yourself. Okay, next. So we need to play 40 hours per week to turn 10K into 20K in 12.5 weeks. Man, I was bad at punctuation and period and spaces today, huh? All right, so now we have done this. We put in our 12.5 weeks, 40 hours a week. We turn our 10 into 20. Because we have a win rate, we put in the volume. Here we are. Now look, you're going to experience variance. Sometimes it's going to take you 6 weeks. Sometimes it's going to take you 20. But if you are winning at $20 per hour at 1-3, and that's accurate, your bankroll will trickle up. Now you might say, but I ran bad for 3 days. Okay, well, that happens. Like I said, it might take you longer. It might take you shorter. There is variance in here. It's not exactly 12.5 weeks. Because I know people in the comments section are going to say, I played 12.5 weeks and I lost. Well, first off, you're probably not winning $20 an hour. Or I played 12.5 weeks and I only turned my 10 into 15. Maybe you got unlucky. Maybe your win rate's smaller than it is. Who knows? All right, so anyway, now that we've done this, we put our butt in the chair, we did this. Now, we need to make 40K more. So how do we make 30? So let's say we are winning at the same win rate at 2.5 as we are at 1.2. About 7 big blinds per hour. Now, as you move up, your win rate will typically go down. But if you're playing in a major poker place like Florida or LA or Vegas or anywhere else that has a lot of games, 1.3 and 2.5 are going to be kind of comparable. So again, if you don't think this is accurate, you're going to need to edit these numbers. If you move from 1.2 to 2.5, or from 1.3 to 2.5, you should presume you're not making the same win rate. You should like slash this down to $20 an hour or something for your calculations. That is definitely what I would recommend doing in order to make sure you don't wreck yourself. Do the math. You need to make $40,000 divided by 35 hours. That is 1,150 hours, which is 29 weeks of playing 40 hours per week. Again, if you don't play as much, divide the numbers. If you play half as much, it'll take you 2 years instead of 1 year, right? You just said monetary goals are stupid. Yes, but I'm showing you how to easily achieve this with math. And again, these are not monetary goals at the end of the day. Recognize what I am telling you to do is put in the volume required to win. Right? Some casinos rig their games. No, they do not. There are a few shady games. I have heard about games in Texas that are like essentially private games in quote-unquote charity rooms or whatever they are. Card clubs where people rent the tables. Like, you could rent the table. You can bring in your own dealer, your own shuffle machine, and then you can run your own game. People are getting cheated left and right. Don't do that. Don't play in games where they can rig the shuffle machine and rig the dealers because it's not run by a licensed, regulated casino. It's ran by a random dude off the street. Okay? Use your brain. Protect yourself before you wreck yourself. Don't be stupid. Okay. Some people say, but the games are super soft. Yeah, well, they can only be so soft before getting cheated will wreck you. All right, so we need to turn, so here's the math, right? To turn 10 into 60 in a year, we need to play 13 weeks at 1.3 with a 20-hour win rate, plus 29 weeks at 2.5 with a 35 an hour win rate. This actually seems very doable to me. This is not even all that hard. I actually think this is achievable for almost anyone who has any poker sense whatsoever, who is willing to devote a lot of hours to putting their butt in the chair and winning at poker. A lot of people don't want that, though. They're going to have a lot of excuses. They're going to have a million excuses. Also, they don't want to study. Recognize here, I didn't build in any study time. However, this is, 43 weeks? That leaves you 9-ish weeks of study time. And you're only playing 40 hours a week, so that's not that much. You have literally 2 days a week of study time or whatever, right? You can find a lot of time to study if you do this. If you're smart, you play on nights and weekends, and your win rate's going to be higher. Then you'll move up a lot faster, right? Imagine you find really soft games, and these numbers are double, which I definitely think is doable when the games are super soft. Well, it's going to take you way less time, right? All right, what are some potential problems? This presumes the win rates are accurate. Also presumes, as someone said earlier, your win rates do not diminish over time, either because you get burnt out which in my mind means you don't actually want your goal. I personally, for Jonathan Little again, I'm talking for me here, I think having a goal that you really want to achieve, even if it's a long-term goal, is very, very motivating. I do not care about immediate gratification whatsoever. As an example, I've plowed millions of dollars into tech startups. Some of them have done well, some of them have done poorly, like over the last few years. And I am A-okay giving away a little bit of money now with the idea that sometime in the future, maybe I'll get a big reward. Not a problem at all. Now, if you need the money for something, it's not a good idea. But that's an example of me planting lots of little seeds. Check out PokerCoaching.com. I started this training site venture, gosh, in 2006. How many years is that? 16 years ago? No, 18 years ago? Oh my God. I've been teaching people how to play poker for roughly 18 years. You know what? I lost about $5,000 a month at it for about 8 years, just as a community service for fun, because I didn't mind making the content, and because without a lot of people who taught me, I would not be where I am today. I was happy to do it. So, did I realize that was a seed that I would plant that might turn into something big? No. I was doing it for fun. I invest in tech startups for fun. I do this show for fun. You all know, by the way you can all help me out is by click the like and subscribe button down there. Also, check out PokerCoaching.com. That would be beneficial. Also, this presumes you can actually put in the volume. A lot of people think they can put in volume, but then they cannot. A lot of people out there play poker 10 hours per week currently, and they do make their $30 per hour or whatever, but they don't realize they're playing on Saturday and Sunday nights when the games are the softest, and they also don't realize that they like playing poker 10 hours a week, and they don't like playing it 50 hours a week. A lot of people get burnt out quickly, and that's because the long-term goal of make 50K a year or whatever it is does not appeal to them. I recognize, again, talking for Jonathan Little, when I was a young poker player, there's nothing else in the world I could do to make $350,000 as a 22-year-old. Nothing. Nothing Jonathan Little can do to make $350,000 a year. Except for put my butt in the chair and play poker. So, if my alternative is finish college and become an engineer and make $50K a year, doing something I may or may not like, or play poker, which I like pretty well, and make $350K a year, all I have to do is keep a positive mindset, show up, and play great. And we will achieve this goal. I mean, I know which one. I mean, I chose mine. I know which one I'm doing. And I think that's important. Kevin says, you think 20 to 30 hours will fit you. You like having outside interests like golf. Golf takes up a lot of time. Funny enough, I have down here in my notes, develop habits and patterns and maintain discipline. Back when I used to play at Bellagio, I was the only player who put in like 70 hours a week. And I didn't know why. I couldn't understand it. But it's because other people didn't have the same goals as me. They wanted, for example, to play golf, or they wanted to go out to the clubs. So many people would go clubbing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They would not play poker. They would play Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And maybe Thursday. They put in 40 hours a week. Like, yeah, I'm putting in 40 hours a week. I'm doing good work. But they didn't realize they were going to the club and spending a bunch of money, and they were not playing in the most profitable times. But making as much money as possible was not clearly their priority, because if it was, they would not shoot themselves in the foot by going out and partying all day, every day, right? If you want to go play golf, recognize you're shooting yourself in the foot in terms of making as much money as possible, which means making as much money as possible is not your goal, and that's okay. It is okay. Now, Kevin does say, golf is at 9 a.m. and you're done by 1. Perfect. Perfect. Louis Philippe is kind of like me. On your off days, you like to play poker. Yeah, exactly. On your off days for poker, you like to play poker. It's funny, in the Bahamas, there are actually a few, like, call them scheduled off days, or effectively scheduled off days. And I'm like, somebody asked me, like, what are you going to do on your off days? I'm like, oh, I'm going to play online. Duh. All right, this also presumes you're not withdrawing anything from your bankroll. A lot of people, if poker is your only source of income, need to withdraw some money to survive. And if you do that, it's going to diminish your ability to move up quickly, right? Going back over here, 13 weeks at 1.3 at $20 an hour. Imagine you decide you need to take out $3,000 every month. Well, if you make, do the math, $3,000 or $4,000 a month, and you take out $3,000 a month, you're never going to move up. Right? Think about it. If you make 3K and you take out 3K, you never move up. That's a big problem, which means you never get to this point. So be aware of that. You need to build that in, which means, whenever I was a young poker player, I lived with my parents for a while. And then after that, I lived in a relatively cheap apartment and I had almost no expenses. My expenses were like $800 a month. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do anything. I just sat in my chair and played online poker. So keep that in mind. Also, you can lack discipline in all sorts of ways. Maybe you like to golf. Maybe you like to party. Maybe you like to watch TV. Maybe you like to play video games. Maybe you like to do drugs. Who knows what you like to do, right? I strongly recommend you develop patterns and habits in your life that result in you getting what you want to do. Maybe that means cutting out some friends. Maybe it means making a point to be in your chair every day at noon to play poker. Maybe it means all sorts of stuff, right? It's very, very, very important to make sure you set yourself up to fail. There's a saying out there, if you don't want to slip, don't go where it's slippery. So don't go and do things or do things with people or whatever that may be detrimental to your success. How many tournaments a day do you think someone should play and not get killed by variance? You're looking at it backwards. As you play more tournaments, variance goes down. You want to play as many as possible. Why do you not organize your podcast version of the videos better? Because honestly, it's an afterthought. YouTube is far more important. All my stuff is pretty visual. There you go. I presume you're talking about the audio podcast, right? All right, so everything so far, we're talking about cash games. Let's talk about tournaments. Any sort of monetary goal in tournaments are asinine. Any sort of monetary goal and any sort of goal is, is asinine because there's way more variance. You cannot say I want to make 50K a year playing tournaments unless you're going to play online and put in a lot of volume and presumably play small fields. So, kind of like we just set volume goals for cash games, even though it was working backwards for making X amount of money, you need to set volume and study goals and trust that you will achieve your expected return on investment over time. Now, this may mean it might be harder to move up in tournaments, or you might run hot and it might be way easier. For a lot of poker players, they were lucky when they first started playing poker. They had $50, they bought in for $10 in a tournament, immediately turned it into 10K, and they were off to the races. I did not. I played tiny field tournaments with 10 players, never had a big score, and grinded it up over time. Recognize, again, you get to pick the games you play. You do not have to play 1,000-person tournaments. If you play 1,000-person tournaments, you will have 200 buy and down swings. Get ready for that. Pay attention and plan ahead. If you have any confusion whatsoever about bankroll management required for tournaments, please check out PokerCoaching.com/bankroll. You have a big bankroll, but you need the skill required to play tournaments. Yeah, a lot of people take their 50 and turn it into 10K in a week, and then they go, I'm bankrolled for $100 tournaments now. Yeah, but you're not good enough, so you're going to get crushed. Just because you have money does not mean you are adequately skilled. We see this in a lot of the super high rollers all the time. A lot of recreational players just have money to play, and they like to gamble. They probably even realize they're not winning, but they like to get their gamble on. What do I think of sit and goes? I think they're a good way to turn a little bit of money into some money. Not a good way at all to turn some money into a lot of money, though. What if the smaller games have a big edge? A 5-5 game that's super soft. Should you stick to them? Well, it's a question of how much money you're making per hour, right? If you can make 1.5x as much money by doubling the stakes, you should probably double the stakes, assuming you're bankrolled. So what are some unrealistic goals for tournaments that people set that are ridiculous? One is, I want to win a major tournament, or I want to win a bracelet, or I want to win X amount of dollars per year. We already talked about that one. That said, say you are a recreational player and your only goal is to win a major tournament, whatever that means for you. You can set goals. Well, you can set things in place to make sure that you have the best chance of achieving that goal. So how could you give yourself a good chance of winning a major tournament? First, get good enough to win a major tournament. Now, to be fair, a lot of people who set this goal of, I want to win a major tournament, have not even thought about their skill advantage or anything like that. They just think, I want to win a tournament. Like, okay, sure. So you got to get good enough to win the tournament. You can do that by studying a ton. Next, you need to play a lot of major tournaments. a lot of players who have this goal don't put themselves in a spot to play the major tournaments. For example, every year, a lot of people take some amount of money to the World Series and think, all right, I'm going to try to win a bracelet. And they go out there with $10,000 and they play 5 tournaments and they lose and they're shocked that happened to them. How could they have lost? Without realizing your chance for success is like 1 in 500 or 1 in 300 or whatever it is. And so, again, it goes back to the idea of, are you happy having a goal that you're never going to achieve or very rarely going to achieve? And I think that's kind of dumb. I don't want to fail 299 out of 300 times. I don't think that's good for most people's psyches. Sit and goes at casinos have too much raked. Well, it depends on the rake, everyone. Again, look, whenever people say, is the rake too high? It depends on your skill level in relation to your opponents. Now, maybe no one can have a big enough skill level, but at the World Series, they used to have these sit and goes. It was a $1,000 buy-in, and they took like 3% rake, $30. So this blanket statement of sit and goes and casinos have too much rake for people to be profitable, I know that's not right because I crushed the sit and goes when they used to have them. Why? Because they had 3% rake. There's 1,000 plus 30. So you're telling me you think that nobody can beat 3% rake? No, what you're saying is in your particular casino where they rake too much, no one's winning in the game. Make sure you don't make blanket statements about all games based on your particular game, because that's not how life works. Definitely not how poker works. All right, next, in order to play as many major tournaments as you can, if that's actually your goal, you need to be bankrolled to play the major tournaments. A lot of people are not, or they go in there and they play 5 and they lose and then they quit. They get sad and they get depressed and they quit their goal. Or they don't even realize that they're not trying to achieve their goal. At the World Series, people may go out there to try to win a major tournament with their 10K, and let's say they consider a bracelet event a major tournament, even though I don't know why you want a bracelet to wear. Imagine you do go out there and you play 2 bracelet events, but at nighttime you decide to go play the nightly $200 turbo that keeps you up until 6 a.m. Well, that's very, very, very bad for your goal. You can't be playing poker till 6 a.m. if you want to try to win a bracelet tournament that starts at noon, right? So it's very important to realize that if you are doing things that are not going to result in you achieving your goal, it's not really your goal. Here's some more silly goals. I want to win X amount of dollars today, or this week, or this month. Back when I was grinding with what I thought was something like a $120 per hour win rate at 2.5, I had 2 losing months out of 12. They weren't actually losing. They were close to break even. So would it have been logical to have I want to win at least $15,000 per month goal? Even though on average I was winning 30. Some months I won 60. Some months I won 0. It's crazy to have a goal of I want to win X amount per month in live poker especially, and online poker, and all forms of poker. It's crazy to have I want to win X amount of dollars per session goals unless you're happy to fail. Next, I want to make X amount of dollars from tournaments over any amount of time, unless it's like 10 years. It's crazy. You're going to have a lot of variance, especially if you are trying to maximize your win rate. Now, if we're talking about sit and go tournaments, 9-handed tournaments online, sure. Back when I used to play sit and goes online, I was making about $20,000 a month, like clockwork from the games, because I was playing 3,000 to 5,000 of them a month. Most of you aren't playing 3,000 to 5,000 tournaments a month. Sit and goes a month. Also, silly goals, like I want to win a specific tournament. Now, I remember, well, a lot of poker players think this. Whenever they go to play a tournament, my goal for the day is to win. And sure, but you can't do anything about it. Well, you can do a little bit about it. First, you can make sure you're playing in a game you can beat. Next, you can show up refreshed and ready to play and wanting to play. You can not have any distractions, right? You can do things like that. And that will help you achieve the goal of the day of winning the specific tournament. But you really have almost no control over it. There's this idea of agency in games. I think it's kind of a silly concept because in my mind, at least, and in a lot of high-level game players' minds, once you're actually sitting at the table, you have almost no control over what happens. And that might sound a little bit crazy to some people to think, but essentially, you are showing up and implementing a strategy that you have learned away from the table. Now, maybe you haven't learned anything and you're just clicking random buttons, but if you have studied the game, you're going to go there and play up to your ability, assuming your mind is in good shape otherwise. So whenever you go there, you're not really making decisions. You think you are, but you're not. You may say, but I'm making reads on my opponents. Yeah, your ability to make reads on your opponents is part of your default strategy. Now, certainly you can shoot yourself in the foot by making all sorts of blunders and mistakes and being distracted and being messed up in the brain, et cetera, et cetera. But you are implementing the strategy you have learned away from the table. If you've learned to be way better than your opponents, you're going to be way better than your opponents. Now, that will still not make you win the specific tournament, but it'll give you a better shot, right? But a lot of people, when they go to a casino and they play a poker tournament and they lose, they're devastated. They're mad. They're angry. They're tilty. And I don't think you should be. You got to realize when you go play a poker tournament, you're not going to cash 85-ish% of the time. You're going to lose 85% of the time. So, if you know something's going to happen 85% of the time, why do you care? Why does that bother you? Well, for a lot of people, they're not playing properly bankrolled at all. They have 10 buy-ins in their bankroll and they lost a tenth of their money. I get why losing a tenth of your money would be devastating. So don't put yourself in that spot. Just because the game exists doesn't mean you have to play. Play smaller. If you lose 1/100th of your money and you played well, why in the world would you be sad? I mean, you wouldn't be. It doesn't really matter. Now, I get the idea that a lot of people are competitive. We have to realize when you're competing at poker, again, you're not really competing against other people because they have a different strategy than you. You are competing in your preparation leading up to the tournament. And you already did that before you showed up. So you can't really control it at that point. You're just running it. Kind of like people who ask, like, all right, I got to go play the tournament next or tomorrow. What are some pieces of advice? Well, it's a little bit late for that. I can give you some pieces of advice, but I mean, it's only going to help you so much, right? Next, something else people have that are kind of silly goals are to do better than another specific player. A lot of players play local home games with the same people, and they really, really, really want to have better results than their friend or rival in the home game. I think that's crazy because you don't control the other person's results at all. They may study a ton, they may play a ton, or they may not. They may not even care about poker, or maybe they care about it infinite, or maybe they have nothing going on in life, and you have a whole bunch going on in life to the point that you can't put in anywhere enough volume compared to them to expect to get those results. And things like this, things that people do to chase credibility or clout, will result in them making all sorts of mistakes. I mean, chasing specific tournament series. A lot of people like to go play random circuit events or events at your local casino or any other specific tournament series because they want to get whatever trinket they give you for winning. And yeah, trinkets are nice and all, but they're just that. And I think, to be fair, look, this is coming from someone who has a lot of trinkets and trophies and all this stuff. I think they don't really matter. They matter a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think figuring out a way to make life-changing money and setting yourself up for success long-term is far more important than any sort of trinket. And spending your time and effort and money to go play tournaments where you're not going to make all that much money after rake and after expenses doesn't make sense. So be very careful with that. Hope this video was not a downer. I realize it may have been. That said, to me, this is like really, really, really uplifting. This kind of concepts of to win at poker, all you have to do make $50K a year, be able to make $20 an hour, play 13 weeks, play 29 weeks. That is like completely freeing because all you got to do is do it. And if you do it and you achieve your goal, you're going to realize I can do this again for more money. And when you do it again, you're going to realize I can do it again for more money. And next thing you know, you're playing 5, 10, or 10, 20 like I was, making $350K a year. And for most people, that's pretty good money. Now, it requires grind. It requires effort. Maybe you decide then I don't really want to do it anymore. I'm already happy with my $1 million I made, and I want to go do something else. Fine. Good. Right? But I think a lot of people are scared of working hard. And I don't think you should be. I think that is like the one thing you can control. Before I wrap it up today, my team and I just released a brand new course. It's called Tournament Domination. Insights from the Pros. By the way, I have a poker coaching webinar starting in 4 minutes. We got to go soon. You cannot buy this course. It is not for sale. But if you sign up to PokerCoaching.com right now, during Cyber Week, you get 71% off. You'll get complete access to the course. I'm not going to go through everything in the course. This is just Chris Brewer's section. He discusses post-flop ICM strategies as the chip leader, pre-flop ICM strategies, short-handed ICM strategies, and how to play with a short stack on the bubble. Justin Saliba, world-class crusher, discusses increasing precision with turn and river strategies. It's a lot of fun. I learned a lot from his section of the course. Shannon Shore goes through a bunch of hands he plays at the final table of the $3,500 Bet MGM course. And we have content from all of these other world-class players as well. Check it out at PokerCoaching.com/cyberweek. I have content in there as well. Make sure you check it out. You'll enjoy it. All this other stuff's included in PokerCoaching.com. If you do not like PokerCoaching.com after you sign up, send us an email within a month to PokerCoaching.com. Support at PokerCoaching.com, and you will get a full refund. If we do not help you get a lot better at poker, we do not want or deserve your money. How do you join the homework webinar? If you're a Poker Coaching member, it should be right there in the dashboard. Also, we just released the Peak GTO library, solver, and trainer. We're giving the biggest discounts we'll ever give for it right now at PokerCoaching.com/cyberweek. You can train in over 20 million unique spots. You can also go through the drill of the day. Currently, I and Justin Saliba have been uploading a bunch of them. We also have these guys down here who are going to be making a lot of content for the site as well. Chris Brewer, the computer, Brock Wilson, the computer, and David Peters, the computer. A bunch of super crushers are going to be making lots of drills of the day, and these simulations in Peak are made by them. It's not made by some tech nerd who doesn't play poker. Our solutions are made by the biggest winners in the game. So check it out. You can also get in there and battle against the GTO solver, increase your ELO score, and actually see how you compare to other poker players, and you can see your skill levels ranking up. So check it out, PokerCoaching.com/cyberweek. You make mistakes in the late stages of a tournament. What are my tips for that? Sign up for PokerCoaching.com and go through the, is it even listed here? The Tournament Masterclass. The Tournament Masterclass is mandatory. Check it out at PokerCoaching.com/cyberweek. This is all super expensive. You need the Walmart price. Take a look at this. If you sign up for a year at PokerCoaching.com, this is what? $50-something a month. $2 per day. It's going to sound a little bit bad. I hope it doesn't sound elitist. If you cannot devote $2 per day to studying poker and getting better at poker, you're going to have a hard time making it. You're going to have a hard time making it if you cannot devote $2 per day and an hour per day to winning at poker. I know it's hard. But I've made a point to make PokerCoaching.com as cheap and affordable as I possibly can. I know we have a bunch of members, so clearly it's priced okay. And I'm not trying to gouge all of you like a lot of other training sites do that are charging you $500 a month or $250 per month, often for less content that's not relevant to you. I'm best with PokerCoaching.com, and I will continue to do it for many, many years to come. So anyway, check it out at PokerCoaching.com/cyberweek. Good luck in your games. Have fun. I have to get to this poker coaching homework webinar starting in just a minute. Where did it even go? I don't know where it went. Good luck in your games. Have fun. If you're a Poker Coaching member, go to the Poker Coaching dashboard, click on homework. It should be right at the top. Good luck in your games. Have fun. I hope you achieve everything you want from poker in 2025. Click the like and subscribe button. Click the notification bell. Check out PokerCoaching.com/cyberweek. Thank you for being here.